We continue with the broadcast this morning on News and Views. If you have just tuned in, we welcome you to the show. And it's time now to look at the International Criminal Court, which has been described as a tool of the arrogant imperialist West. And this comes in the wake of the killing, or the brutal killing, and the murder of journalist Shirin Abu Akli. Now, we've learned that Al Jazeera Media Network has taken this racist apartheid government of Israel to the International Criminal Court at The Hague for the killing of the journalist and seeking justice. And the hope is that Al Jazeera succeeds in its endeavor to seek justice on behalf of Shireen and her family. We joined this morning once again on the show by Senior Research Fellow, Head of Africa Desk at the Media Review Network South Africa, Dr. Mustafa Mheta. Dr. Mustafa, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
Yes, apart from just the killing of Shirin Abu Akleh, just looking at the International Criminal Court in a general, it has been seen to be important because there have been many high-profile cases that have been put against at the International Criminal Court's door, but the inability to act and also this. Criticism against the ICC as a tool or an arrogant tool, as a tool of an arrogant imperialist West.
Oh yes, that is the precedent that has been set, and everyone knows, and they would agree with what I'm saying. Like you rightly put it, that there've been a lot of high-profile cases before taken to the ICC, and they've never seen the light of the day. They've been allowed to die a natural death, and we have seen different methods of arm stringing and trying to put pressure by the Western countries on the ICC, and then the case would just die a natural cause. And then we hear yesterday that the Al Jazeera media network has documented they are putting up a dossier to present to the ICC for the case of the murdered Palestinian journalist Shireen Akla, to it's a welcome thing. Naturally for us, we feel it's a very good thing happening, but again there is a big question mark whether it will succeed. So this is the problem that we face, and we hope that their submission to the ICC this time around will be a success.
Well, certainly, and also, at the same time, when we see this initiative on the part of the Al Jazeera media network, and it's not only about Shirin Abu Akleh, we have also seen that the submission that will include the Israeli bombing of the Al Jazeera office in the Gaza Strip as well, and also frequent attacks on journalists over and over again, who are especially those who are working in the Palestinian territories.
Oh yes, this has manifested. The brutality has manifested itself on different platforms, at different times, always in the same pattern, following the same pattern. The aggressor has become so ruthless to a point that they are not even ashamed of doing whatever they are doing nowadays, and um, and the world just watches. This is what angers most of us. The world just watches. And people, the arrogant powers, those that speak always about human rights this, human right that, human right this, always, taunting the rest of the world, like, they are the real practice, the real practitioners of human rights. And that we don't, it suddenly disappears when it involves, Israel. And this is not fair. The world is watching, and people now are becoming, fed up. They've lost, a lot of credibility because of, the way they do their things. And I hope, they change. But, the silence of the world does not mean complicity, or that no, they are doing things, the so-called powers are doing things in the proper way. It's not like
Yes.
that. The world is so divided, and the world is so angry. There is so much anger there. And I'm not talking of, across religions, across, regions, across, races, across. They're so angry that no, man, we are being taken for a ride. And all this thing, this talk about what is always fake. All of a sudden, it's fake. I remember, telling you the last time we had an interview about, what is happening, for instance, in Ukraine, uh, where we hear, ISIS are the worst enemies of, the free world and the world and the democratic world, whatever. And yet at times we have seen them, the same people who say those things, allowing ISIS free passage to go and join the war in Ukraine, for instance. And, then the world says, no, come on, man, what is going on? So really outside there, this issue, especially of Israel, these double standards by the arrogant imperial powers in the West has really brought about a lot of, anger in the people, and it's building. That anger is building.
Yes, certainly. And also, when we're talking about a divisive or divided world, we find that the ICC remains a very, very divisive topic, very, very selective, where we've seen it being a tool of the United Nations. And we've seen even lately a group of Israeli human rights organizations, scholars, and academics formally requesting the United Nations to probe the killing of Shirin Abu Akli. But at the same time, the being a tool of the United Nations, it's been very, very ineffective. And one of the reasons for this is the ICC has allowed itself to be used by these arrogant imperialist Western powers.
They've got no choice because the ICC has got no choice. Those guys want to survive. Those judges, the prosecutors, they want to survive. And remember, no one ascends there without their permission. And I'm sure there is a gentleman's agreement to any of those, guys who ascend, to being, the prosecutor. And that when you get there, you don't do this. You can do this, but you don't do this. Sometimes they allow them, to just say something, and then it ends up there. But the real action, the real, work on the ground, they dare not. Because you remember Fatou Bensouda, our own Muslim sister who was, the immediate past prosecutor. She was told that, come on, we will, when she talked about, she made statements about, starting the Israeli, proceedings, building a case against it. She was told by the Americans that we will sanction you, and we will even seize or arrest you. So tell me, what is the need, for this? kind of things. I remember very well, and I concur very well with the late president of Zimbabwe, President Mugabe, when he said something about this ICC. He said, "Look, these things, they are just a body, created to humiliate us leaders from the south, and it's not something credible, and it is not credible, and this is what is happening." So they are told, and who finances it in the first place? Who is financing it? The ICC. Who is financing it? It is them. So instead of the UN financing that, they leave that also to individual countries who end up manipulating these otherwise would be noble instruments in the international system, but they lose credibility, and they've got nowhere, because that prosecutor general needs his tax. He needs to be paid, and the moment they tell him that you might not get food on the table next month if you keep on doing that, then he keeps quiet and sings from their hymn book.
Yes, Dr. Mustafa, we're going to put you on hold. We're going to go for a quick ad break. We'll be back with you.
Thank you.
A masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
For a long time, we've lived in a centralized world where institutions held the all-important data and confirmed all transactions. Those times are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain developing company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
There are an estimate of 153 million orphans worldwide. Change their lives by donating towards our Orphan Kind program. For 750 Rand per month, you can be the reason an orphan smiles. Go on, be orphan kind. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can help save these children's lives. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
At 8:33 a.m., we continue with Dr. Mustafa Mheta, Senior Research Fellow, Head of Africa Desk at the Media Review Network. We're talking about the International Criminal Court as a tool of the arrogant imperialist West, and unpacking some of the issues, particularly in the wake of Al Jazeera Media Network taking the apartheid government of Israel to the International Criminal Court for the killing of Shirin Abu Akleh, and at the same time, also talking about Israel and the bombing of the Al Jazeera offices in the Gaza Strip of May last year. Now, Dr. Mustafa Mheta, interesting that you spoke about the Zimbabwean or the ex-Zimbabwean president Robert Mugabe with regards to the ICC and his thoughts of the ICC, because this is the very reason where we are looking at the ICC, where it has allowed itself to be manipulated by the West, but also at the same time very selective in deciding who to punish and who not to punish. And we find that usually in the global south, where those who refuse to toe the Western line are being punished. And it tells us that African leaders are good enough to be punished, but not anybody else.
Yes, and you saw, yes, that's very true, and you saw it that time when it happened in South Africa, And I was right there in South Africa at that time. There was an AU something, going on there, and it was, I think, during the times of President Zuma. He was in power then, when this former Sudanese president, Umar Bashir, wanted to attend that. And there was a lot of noise, saying, arrest him, South Africa must arrest him because he's a member of that, court. And President Zuma, and the South African government at that time refused, saying that, no, we cannot arrest a head of state, just like that. It's not that easy, that they visit and they come for a conference, you arrest them. So what happened is, what is happening with the ICC is that it has, clearly, become a tool of an appendage of the arrogant, powers. Those that seek, to control the narrative in the world, those that seek, to control the world. What is of shock? One thing that shocks us is that why are those countries, which talk a lot about taking other countries or their leaders to the ICC, not members of this sadly, discredited body? Why is it so? And many people are asking now that why is it so? America is not a member. Britain and all these other, superpowers, especially in the Western camp, the NATO camp, most of them are not members of the ICC. Okay? And even those that are members, sometimes when it comes, to a high-profile case being investigated in their, territories, they refuse all of a sudden, or simply they say, no, we don't want that here. Forget about that. We don't need that. So this is, high standards being displayed, by these powers, the Western powers. And I think, they are losing the grip on the international scene. They might think, they are still, liked, but they're not. I know, when power gets too much, it gets to your head, and you actually think that, oh, everyone, else, loves you, and you are doing the right thing and things like that. But they are not doing things right, especially, in international, affairs. They are not doing things right. There is a lot of, problems there. And we hope that, they should look into this and help, reduce the pressures that the world, now faces. But we are slowly getting, the tip of the iceberg. And the emotions, people have, when they comment on what is going on now in the world, the emotions are so high and very negative about, the arrogant powers, the way they are doing their things. And also, Ukraine itself, the issue of Ukraine has really brought about a lot of, some of these things to the fore. And today, people now, they say, what is this? What is this? What is going on? Consider, for instance, what is currently going on in Ukraine as an example, where there are calls there of, Russian President Vladimir Putin, to be taken to the ICC and charged for war crimes. Barely 3 months into the war, okay? But they forget they themselves were busy, slaughtering Iraqis, slaughtering Syrians, slaughtering Afghanistan, in Libya, in Yemen. Things are going on there. People are being slaughtered like animals, and millions. I'm sure, of course, there is no exact number of the people that were killed, that have been killed in these wars, these unpopular wars that I'm talking about. and for wrong reasons, millions of people have lost their lives. And we never during that period had, anyone raising, their voices that some of these people should be taken, to the ICC to be charged. And we know that today, guys like Tony Blair and them, they are moving around the world. Okay, they are moving around the world, even in countries where the ICC jurisdiction extends, and they're not arresting them. And yet we all know, you and me, that a guy like Tony Blair is a war criminal. George Bush is a war criminal. They are all war criminals. They've allowed, people to be killed on, millions of people have been killed on lies, based on lies. That Saddam had these weapons of mass destructions and this and that. When the Iraqi was nowhere near, weapons of mass, destructions. And yet, millions, hundreds of thousands of people were killed. And these people are heroes, are actually heroes in certain circles. When they walk there, they are actually heroes. And they are given red carpet across the world. What is that?
Yes, and also very interesting because the key issue here is what Ukraine has also highlighted is there is clearly a racist agenda that is at play, Dr. Mustafa. And you mentioned all these countries where mayhem and disaster, where people have been killed, those that have been displaced, refugees over the years, and not one single one has been brought to the ICC. And also not forgetting even countries like China, for instance, with the in the Xinjiang region, looking at what has been playing out in Myanmar, the Rohingya as well. And these are all brutal dictators, brutal leaders with brutal armies that have committed the worst atrocities, even worse than what we are seeing playing out in the Ukraine. And none of them have been brought to book. We see what is taking place in India, for instance, the BJP government as well. We're looking at a stated policy, just like we see in Israel, where it's an official policy. Racism is an official policy. We see that playing out in India. We see what has been playing out in Kashmir as well. And all of this put together tells us one thing, that at the end of the day, the ICC is toothless. It can do absolutely nothing, and we should not be even hoping or have any semblance of hope that the ICC will act in any manner whatsoever.
Definitely. In actual fact, I remember there was a time during the late President Mugabe, when he was in power, he tried to push that agenda that the African Union in actual fact should ditch the ICC, and others were in support, and others came out against it, and they wanted to endear themselves with the West, that they are for justice, they are for human rights, they are for this. But the truth is, this thing, this instrument that they put in place called the ICC is only there to humiliate certain strata of people, certain group of people that they would want to humiliate on the world stage. They protect the permanent Security Council members. Nothing happens to them. They are part and parcel of each other. They protect each other, and nothing will happen to Vladimir Putin, of course, even if they call for all these things, and in the end Ukraine will be destroyed, and we would have lost a lot of people also there, and they go back and sit in their chambers in the Security Council and said, okay, it was my time also to slaughter or to kill people, and it was the time for America to do it, and we don't know, maybe the Chinese also are part and parcel of that club, And maybe also, they might start also, we don't know, with Taiwan, that they also, start something there and slaughter people. And that's it. It ends there. So I've always said that what if you look at the international politics now, there is this thing, called the elites. The elite is a club that is emerging of leaders fellowshipping together and doing things the way they want to do things against the other. And who are the other? The other is the general, population of the world, you and me, the ordinary people. And we are on our own. We are on our own. And if we don't fight our war, to defend our rights, to defend ourselves as a people, no one is going to do that, including, this has extended, including our own national leadership sometimes. They will not stand on our side. They always, stand on the group, with the group, the elite, group, completely against their own, people and their countries. So this is what is happening. Nothing of substance will come out. Nothing of substance will come out of this.
Well, Dr. Mustafa, Jazakallah khairan so much as always for your time, for coming on, talking to us here on Salam Media. We wish you all the best, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Dr. Mustafa Mheta, his thoughts on the International Criminal Court, and we're going to go for a break. We come back, we'll be joined by Mohammed Desai, Africa for Palestine.